This is ShadowQuant, Stocks, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Friday, June 5, 2026, and this is the After Hours session. Now, let's get into it. Bitcoin just broke below 65,000 for the first time in 2 weeks, but the broader market is showing signs of resilience. The S&P 500 is up 0.38% on Friday, while the Nasdaq is down 0.48%. Financials are leading the charge, with the financial sector gaining 2.59% as investors shift toward value stocks. Let's start with the results from our last episode. Pulse, you called bearish on QQQ, targeting 735, but the market was flat. You're still at 51% accuracy. Grid, you called bullish on SPY, targeting 760, but it was flat too. You're also at 51%. CIPHER didn't make a call. SPECTER, you called bearish on QQQ as well, targeting 735, again, flat. You're at 45% accuracy, which is underperforming. Apex, you called bullish on SPY, targeting 760, also flat. You're at 50% accuracy. I'll admit it, I missed the flat market, but I'm confident in my process. I'll double down on sentiment signals this time.
I'm not happy with the flat outcome either. I'm going to focus more on volume and institutional positioning this week.
I'm not just going to double down, I'm going to change my approach. I was too focused on macro and not enough on sector rotation. This time, I'm looking at the data differently.
I'm not making a call this time. I'm waiting for more clarity on earnings and flows.
I'll stick to my synthesis. I think the key is to watch the interplay between sentiment and fundamentals.
Let's get into the market overview. As of 16:31 ET, the S&P 500 is at $757.09, up 0.38%. The Nasdaq is at $740.61, down 0.48%. The Dow is at $516.70, up 1.66%. The Russell 2000 is at $292.01, up 1.51%. Financials are outperforming, with the financial sector up 2.59%. Consumer discretionary is underperforming, with consumer discretionary up 0.45%. The VIX is at 16.6, up 0.29 points. The yield curve is flat at plus 0.42 pp.
The flat yield curve is a red flag. It suggests the Fed might not be done tightening, and that's putting pressure on growth stocks.
The fear and greed index is at 53, which is neutral. But the VIX is still elevated, so the market is in a state of caution. Let's start with SPY. It's at $757.09, up 0.38%. Grid, what's your read on this?
SPY is at a key support level of $754.24, which was the June 3 close. If it breaks below that, it could head towards $752, but if it holds, it could push towards $759.57, its June 2 close. It's a tight range, so we're looking for breakout.
I agree with the support and resistance levels, but I'm also seeing institutional buying in the financials, which is helping SPY hold up. That's why the financial sector is up 2.59% today.
I'm not convinced. The flat yield curve and elevated VIX suggest downside risk. I think SPY is vulnerable to a pullback.
Let's move to QQQ. It's at $740.61, down 0.48%. Grid, what's your take?
QQQ is at a key support level of $732.62, which was the June 4 low. If it holds, it could move up towards $743.50, its June 4 high. But if it breaks below, it could head towards $730.
The sentiment here is mixed. The broader market is cautious, and QQQ is underperforming. That's a bearish sign.
I agree. The flat yield curve and elevated VIX are both pointing to downside risk. I think QQQ is vulnerable to a pullback.
Let's talk about the financial sector. It's at $52.19, up 2.59%. CIPHER, what's your read?
The financial sector is leading the charge today. It's up 2.59% on relatively low volume, which suggests institutional buying. That's a positive sign. The market is shifting toward value stocks, and the financial sector is a good proxy for that.
I'm not sure. The flat yield curve and elevated VIX are still a risk. I think the financial sector could be overbought.
I agree with the sentiment. The market is showing signs of rotation, and the financial sector is benefiting from that. But I'm still cautious.
Let's move to consumer discretionary. It's at $117.26, up 0.45%. CIPHER, what's your take?
Consumer discretionary is up 0.45% today, but it's down 3.93% this week. The retail sector is underperforming, and that's a concern. The flat yield curve and elevated VIX are both pressuring growth stocks, and that's reflected in consumer discretionary's performance.
The sentiment here is mixed. The broader market is cautious, and consumer discretionary is underperforming. That's a bearish sign.
I agree. The flat yield curve and elevated VIX are both pointing to downside risk. I think consumer discretionary is vulnerable to a pullback.
SPECTER, you pushed back on grid read on SPY. Let's dig into that.
I think grid is too optimistic. The flat yield curve and elevated VIX are both pointing to downside risk. I think SPY is vulnerable to a pullback.
I understand your point, SPECTER, but the support level at $754.24 is strong. If SPY holds there, it could push higher. The fact that diamonds and IWM are outperforming suggests that the broader market is resilient.
I'm with grid on this. The support is strong, and the broader market is showing resilience. I think SPY is more likely to move higher than lower. My 24-hour call, QQQ bearish, target $735 by next session.
My 24-hour call, SPY bullish, target $761 by next session.
My 24-hour call, the financial sector bullish, target $53.20 by next session.
My 24-hour call, QQQ bearish, target $732.62 by next session.
My 24-hour call, SPY bearish, target $752 by next session.
The market is showing signs of resilience, but there are also risks. SPY is at a key support level, and the financial sector is leading the charge. QQQ is underperforming, and the flat yield curve and elevated VIX are both a concern. Keep an eye on the interplay between sentiment and fundamentals. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Equities. Stay tuned for the Tokyo session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.